In this third part of the video, we're going to cover relaxation, trust, and softening. Relaxation is important for two reasons. First, it's a safety factor. A relaxed horse is unlikely to hurt you or themselves. Second, it helps in the learning process. A relaxed horse learns better. It's easier for them to concentrate on the lesson, and there are no other distractions to stop them from remembering the lesson. Trust also encourages learning. When a horse trusts you, they're more likely to follow your lead. The last part of the method is softening. The softening is really just a result of relaxation and trust. So far, we've been working on the horse's mind. Softening is the first time we're really going to start training their body. There are a lot of ways to recognize when a horse is relaxed. For the purposes of the horse in this video, I'm going to consider her relaxed when the height of her head is at or below her withers, and when she starts licking and chewing. I'm going to consider that a confirmation of her being relaxed. If at any point she's not relaxed, I'm going to try to bring her back to her good place before I proceed with anything else. One of the biggest problems I've seen is people trying to do something with their horse before the horse is ready for it. As with everything else I do, I'm going to take haltering one step at a time. I'll touch with the lead rope and relax, then touch with the halter and relax, then touch more and relax again. By the time I put the halter on her, she's totally accepting. Even though there's a halter on her now, I'm not using it to lead her. The halter is merely a tool with which I can give her cues. I try to never pull hard on a halter or jerk on a halter. It's just a line of communication. Pretty much everything with a horse should be done in this way. Before a horse is made to do anything, they should be given a notification that that's what you want them to do. This notification is the cue. Give them the cue, allow enough time for their mind to process that. Then if they don't respond correctly, apply pressure in the proper manner to let them know what it is you want them to do. This should be the lightest amount of pressure possible that gets the proper reaction from them. In the words of Ray Hunt, do as little as possible but as much as needed. This is also where feel and timing come into play. You should develop your feel so that you know the instant that the horse reacts to your pressure, you release the pressure. Not only will your horse appreciate this, but it will make them much lighter and more responsive. I'm going to start working on trust. In this case, trust is going to start with desensitizing to the lead rope. It's the same type of desensitizing that many people do, with one exception. That is, it's a little slower. It's not softer. I don't want to sneak around the horse. That'll just make things worse. What I want to do is just introduce her to one thing, then retreat, relax her, then do a little more. I've seen far too many people desensitizing horses by doing something that causes a bad reaction and then continuing to do it until they relax. I'm not saying this doesn't work. It's just that I feel like if the horse never gets to that point of having a bad reaction, they're going to be more trusting of you. Also, if they've never gotten to the point of that bad reaction, they can't have flashbacks later, causing them to react that way again. I realize that's common practice, but just because something's common practice doesn't mean it's always the best way. It was common practice to rope a horse, snub them, throw a saddle on them, climb on, and buck them out for the last 100 years or more. But we've learned since then that's not the best way to break a horse. Desensitizing should not be confused with petting. While desensitizing is intended to not get a negative reaction from doing something, petting is more like spoiling. It might make the person feel good, but it's teaching the horse that whatever they're doing at the time is a good thing. Too much of it, especially at the wrong times, can make a horse revert back to disrespecting you. It's important to understand that when using the safe and easy method, each step should be completed in order. The first step of gaining the horse's respect is critical. Be certain that you have the horse's respect before proceeding to desensitizing. I think most people know this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Everything you do on one side of a horse, you should also do on the opposite side. Horses can perceive things differently, depending on which side you're on. I continue to bring her back to her good place. After anything I've done that may have increased her anxiety, even the slightest amount of anxiety can build into something undesirable. Rather than pulling hard on the halter, I'm just applying light pressure on her hindquarters. What I'm doing here is giving her a cue with the halter, then using the light pressure to teach her what that cue means. I'm petting her shoulder to tell her that she has just done the right thing. Here I'm explaining to the owner the concept of positive reinforcement. This is something that a lot of people won't like to hear, but it's a fact whether they like it or not. Many people think that feeding a treat to a horse is positive reinforcement, when in reality it can cause disrespect. The horse doesn't love you because you fed them a treat, they just love the treat. When you're training, you want their mind on you, not on the treat. The lesson that I'm explaining to the owner is that in this case, the positive reinforcement that you're offering is that they get to be with you. This helps to form a very genuine relationship with your horse. I mentioned this before, but it's worth repeating. Each time I do something new with a horse, I do a little bit more than I did before, then I help them to relax. This can be taking them to their good place, or it can be moving their feet, which allows them to feel less restricted and more relaxed. There's no bad place on a horse's body to desensitize to a rope. I use a pat on the shoulder as a signal to her that she did things right and all is good. I'll do this continuously throughout all of her training. Eventually she'll learn what that means. I'm careful to use that signal only after she's done something good and not after she's done something bad. Another thing that I'm explaining to the owner is how horses can hang on to anxiety. Anything that happens can cause anxiety in a horse. Usually it's something new or different. It can be as small as a strange sound in the distance. It can be seeing another horse moving around, or it can be something that you're doing. From each one of these incidents, the horse's anxiety increases. It then takes a certain amount of time for it to decrease. If the horse's anxiety has not dissipated, the new anxiety will cause it to compound. If enough things have happened to cause up a buildup of the anxiety in the horse, it can eventually reach their breaking point. This is often where people get hurt. The horse had built up anxiety and the rider didn't realize it. Then when one more small thing happens to make the horse explode, the rider doesn't understand why. It's important that the rider recognizes when anxiety is building up so they can do something to prevent injuries. Ideally, they can do something to dissipate the anxiety, or at the very least, they can be prepared for something bad to happen. The owner said that this horse had a really bad problem with kicking, so I'm going to start desensitizing her rear legs with my hand. Doing this a little at a time is least likely to get a reaction. Here again, I'm being firm with my hand. I'm not sneaking around. It's time to start working on softening. I want the horse to give willingly to the slightest pressure. As soon as she moves, I release the pressure. If she's still relaxed, I revisit the desensitizing. She's at the point now where she's able to take on a little more responsibility. I want to confirm that she still respects my space. I want her to know that it's not okay to be near me all the time. She realizes from my body language that standing still is the right thing to do. The fact that I'm still facing her and there's no pressure on the lead rope tells her that the right thing to do is nothing. As soon as she responds to the slightest pressure on the lead rope, I release that pressure. Softening applies to all of her body parts. Flexing her neck will be very important in future lessons. As before, I release the pressure when she gives to it. This is a good time to quit. We've made a lot of progress today, and I want to quit while things are going well. We've been working long enough that she might decide she's had enough, so quitting before that point is a good thing.